Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
What's going on, Mike?
How are you doing, Phil, and everybody out there? Happy Friday.
Mike, I'm doing great. Happy Friday, everybody out there. Yeah, I hit the road tomorrow. Can't wait to see you next week at Overland Expo.
I know it's super exciting. I'm flying out of Southern Baja on Saturday morning, and be flying into Albuquerque, where I'll be picking up my old Land Rover to drive out to Flagstaff to meet you guys.
So, Mike, let's jump right into it. There's some important topics we have to cover this week. There's some topics that just are all over the internet. Everybody's debating, and it's time that we grab the reins and made a decision on this topic. So put your thinking cap on.
All right, this is going to be tough. I can tell already. So,
would 100 men or one gorilla win in a fight?
I saw that. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Mike,
I'm putting my odds on the gorilla, to be honest with you.
So, in the most basic sense, the humans win, the men win, I believe.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take losses, bro.
We're gonna take losses.
It's not gonna be worth it.
No. No, the gorilla's, out of 100 guys, I mean, the gorilla's bound to take out a third of them.
It depends upon the guys, because I'm thinking with strategy. I'm also thinking about, I don't hear people talking about this part, but what differentiated humans or Homo sapiens in the beginning was our ability to create and use tools.
Right.
So as evolution has gone on, so has primates also, but not to the level that we have, right, to be able to use tools and being strategic with them and being able to communicate with one another. So I think we'll win. I think when we engage, there'll be a bunch of broken bones, a bunch of chewed up muscles, dislocated limbs, at least a death. I'm thinking we'll at least lose 1 to 5 people to death. And then as far as severe injuries, I think we'll lose about a third, but I think in the end we'll win. A third is actually high, though, even though I'm agreeing with you, Mike, because if we strategize properly, we could minimize, but there's always an idiot.
It depends on the size of the gorilla and whether or not what the gorilla knows. If the gorilla, I don't know, grabs a gun from somebody and figures out how to shoot, we got problems.
And the greatest male athlete cannot compete on any level. I'm not even talking about strength now. I'm talking about agility, hand and eye coordination, things like that. Now, we do have endurance over a gorilla by a lot. So if we maybe went into waves, he'd literally wear out.
Yeah, I think we win by running away and hiding. I'm hiding behind trees.
So, Mike, I brought up this topic because it's all over the internet like it's a serious question.
I know. I've seen it. It boggles my mind what the internet creates.
But I want to end the topic with just a quick thing. I wish so much time and effort and social media attention was given to the protection of the gorillas and other animals. To this day, people are still poaching gorillas simply for their paws.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish there was that kind of attention drawn to something positive and not violent.
Right. I agree with you.
Did you get my thing from X about DJI?
I see DJI sounds like they're coming out with a drone that can film spinning. That's the best way I can say it, right?
So it's got 3 lenses. It's got a wide angle lens, it's got a 70-meter lens, and I may be a millimeter off or two. Then it's got a tele that's like 168 or 170, which that's very good. And the lenses rotate to the one that you're being used, and it can rotate during flight.
Right.
So from what they're saying, as it pivots, the actual lenses stay, and they can rotate opposite of the gimbal, so you can take all kind of crazy shots.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You buying a new drone, Mike?
Have I bought one?
Do you plan on buying this one? They're going to call it.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm sitting here in my truck right now, packing up my drones as we're talking about them, and all my other DJI equipment to head up to Overland Expo and then do that expedition immediately following that. So, I found recently I'm mostly using the Mini 4 Pro. That's the latest of the I'll call it the small drones. I've got the expensive, fancy Mavic Pro with the Hasselblad and all that. The Cinema one. It's just so big is the problem, and we've talked about this on the podcast before.
I found this. Go ahead.
Is an issue, right?
Yeah, Mike, I found a solution to that since you brought that up. I have a Mini. Mine is the 3, and I have the Mavic, but I don't know which one. It's not the latest with the Hasselblad. It's before the Hasselblad. Anyway, I've been recently using the DJI Neo, and it cannot replace my other ones. It's not like I'm going to get rid of the other ones.
Yeah.
But I envision it being great for, well, in photography and videography, what do we always say? The best camera is the one on you. And this is the one that you can actually have on you.
Yep.
And if you're a storyteller, if you're a content creator, I think no matter if you have a drone or not, you should get a DJI Neo. It's going to accentuate your storytelling.
See, the thing with the Neo is that it, a lot of times we're doing stuff. Sometimes let's just hypothetically say we're at Expo and we're in, now we can't use drones there, but let's hypothetically say we could. And you're inside like a classroom or something, you want to get a shot from up above of the speaker or whatever. The Neo is great for that. It's great for flying under a table, doing some really cool footage. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it fits in the palm of your hand. It's tiny, right?
Yeah, and it's the most protected.
Yes, because most protected because the blades can't hit anything. They've got protection around them.
I've had my bump and fall. I don't even think about it the same way as I think of my other drones. And it solves the issue that at least I had was there are a lot of times that I don't take great drone footage because I'm like, I got to take it out. I got to do this. I got to do that.
I got to open it up. I got to, click this off and click that on and all. Yeah, I'm with you. And we said this a long time ago. If it's complicated to use or it takes too much time, you are going to say no more often than you say yes. Yeah. And then you end up at the end of a week of doing something and you go, God, I sure wish I got more footage of this. Because you kept saying, As
some great footage from our trip goes by in your background.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. We put the drone up right there.
But you remember we literally took effort to do that.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, a little more serious stuff, Mike. Trump plans to announce that the U.S. will call the Persian Gulf the Arabian Gulf. Have you heard about that?
Oh God, no, I have not heard about that. But I mean, what is with the naming of stuff?
I don't know his reasons, but the final outcome I think is good. Most of the countries that are around that area, except for I think Iran, are all in agreement in calling it that.
Yeah.
So my only issue is, how is the president doing that?
Well, like everything else, the president has the ability to change the name for the federal government and for American-based things. He doesn't have any control over. It's like changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. I mean, although that might have happened for the U.S. government and for people that are living in the States. If I go on, like I said, if I go on my computer right now, it still says the Gulf of Mexico. I'm in Mexico. So he doesn't have the control. Now, having said that, yeah, I mean, I guess if everybody else in the world is on board and all those other independent countries that are around there agree with it too, and all decide they want to change the name and have fun. I'm just getting tired of the. To be honest with you, like, we got better things. I mean, you guys. I mean, maybe I don't know if you're going to bring this up or not, but you've got India and Pakistan going to war right now. There are worse things going on in the world than what the name of the Gulf of whatever is. I'm just saying.
So, months back when the presidential race was going on, some people thought we were sexist about our feelings about Kamala. So, this is in regards to that. This is where I think women shine and men don't when they have power. We really swing our dicks. And that's all this is. That's all this is. It's dick swinging.
Yeah. I would agree with that. It's like there's but more, like you said earlier, I wish somebody would try to save the gorillas or try to figure out why Kashmir is such a nightmare and why India and Pakistan got to fight over this. That to me, that's more important than what we're calling the Gulf of Arabia. Yeah. Or
I think a female president, this wouldn't even cross her mind.
Well, Phil,
this is a dude.
You got to come up with a good candidate, because the two candidates that we've run so far for female for president have both been fucking atrocious.
Oh, I think a woman is capable, but somehow, some way, not one has come close to. They don't even run, which goes to something that I believe about the country in general, Mike. The most qualified people to run the country are running Fortune 500 companies or running their own businesses. They're CEOs. The most qualified people do not run for president. You don't get any perks, and you get $400,000 a year. Why would I take that job?
Exactly. They're too smart to take the job.
Trump also, man, this Thursday, he has designated as a day for us to celebrate victory in World War II. He made a proclamation designating it as a day for the United States to celebrate its victory in World War II, as countries in Europe already do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I'm fine with that. I saw that that hit my news this morning that the King of England was celebrating V-Day or whatever, and yeah, I think that's. I don't in concept have any problem with that.
Well, some people are going to try and come up with something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, having said that, like I said, there might be better uses of time. I don't know.
Well, the liberals are trying to make it like, oh, we're going to have a national celebration of war, and I'm like, what is Veterans Day? What is Memorial Day? What
Exactly.
And he has shown in the last 20 years all of the wars have been started by Democrats and have been prolonged and extended. Every time Trump comes in office, he's trying to get us back home. So it's just so much hypocrisy, man. It really irritates me.
There's a lot of it. I mean, like I said this many years ago. I mean, unfortunately, most of the wars, maybe all of the wars, are started or are based somehow in religion, and that, even if you take a war that is it's non-religious in a sense, like Ukraine and Russia. Really, the problem there is still based on religion. It's based on tribes in various places in Ukraine that don't like each other, right? Some are very pro-Russian and or ethnically are backed or were Russian. So it's a problem that we're looking at right now, where you got Pakistan and India shooting at each other. You're talking about two nuclear superpowers that are fighting. They're not, and it's not balanced, right? India is way stronger than Pakistan. But I mean, but you're talking about
they've got
Hindus,
nuclear, right?
Yeah, they both have nuclear, but you're talking about Hindus versus Muslim, right? So this is a religious thing, and Kashmir, you're fighting over a shithole. It's very similar to say, like, similar in such a way, like, when we got into that war in Afghanistan and Russia was in it before us. I mean, you were fighting over some of the most rugged land and territory in the world, period. And I mean, it is so remote, so difficult to travel. All of those regions have historically and probably forever will, because of the remoteness and the terrain, are ruled by warlords. They're ruled by local. It would be something like, flashing back 3,000 years in history, trying to quote civilize that into what we consider to be modern borders, meaning India, Pakistan, China, whatever, is near impossible, right? Mm-hmm. So, that was the problem when we went into Afghanistan. We're thinking we're fighting the Taliban. Well, not really. I mean, not really. I mean, the Taliban don't really control most of these warlords. They do through trade and through little partnerships and little deals and side deals and whatnot. And even then, there's revolts and fighting and infighting and all that stuff constantly. So we're out of our league in that stuff. But, what worries me when you've got countries that got nuclear power that are, now who are in theory allies of ours, right? I mean, India is a huge producer of goods for us, and Pakistan is an ally. I mean, they're both allies, kind of, but it's an interesting thing going on.
Well, back to America, Mike. Trump ordered multiple agencies to rebuild Alcatraz as a federal prison.
Yep.
If you haven't noticed something about every headline that I'm reading to you, it seems like Trump is kind of running out of steam with major executive orders and things like that. And it's just throwing a bunch of stuff at you that amounts to nothing.
Yeah, it's attention getting, right? I mean, the chances of Alcatraz turning back into a prison are, in my opinion, slim to none. I mean, you're dealing with first of all, you're gonna have lawsuits tied up in California for the next 20 years. Two, currently it's sort of a museum. It's really not suitable for anything. It doesn't really have water. It doesn't really have power. It doesn't really have sewer. It's not big enough. It would have to be rebuilt. I mean, it goes on and on and on. It really isn't a great. I mean, it didn't last as a prison very long in the first place. So I think it's just, once again, it's a bunch of noise. This is my worry right now, sitting here in Mexico. I'm about to come into the States for a month. I'm worried about the noise.
Well, this seems to be the start. The reactions of his supporters to the things he's been doing in the last week, they haven't said anything, but they've been dead silent.
Mm.
He's getting crickets on a lot of these executive orders and things that he's coming up with the past week, and Alcatraz is one of them.
Yep.
People are avoiding mics.
Yep.
Do
He
you
also just named another hot issue I saw was he named the a new nominee for the Surgeon General.
Yes. So what do you think that's good or bad? Do you think them being an influencer matters?
I mean, we're in modern times, so you know, it's the way it is.
Right.
You know,
Michelle Obama got a podcast. I mean,
exactly. So I mean, this is the way. Yeah. I mean, the left is attacked it already, obviously, because Trump nominated the person. So I mean, regardless, it doesn't matter whether the person's qualified, not qualified, or whatever. As long as Trump did it, it's a bad thing. So I don't know. I've heard. I don't even know who it's a woman, right? And she was connected to, not connected, but was endorsed by Kennedy, I think, too, right? So that comes with a fraught full of. Will it be fought in the Senate for confirmation? Hell yeah.
Mike, I'm about to take you down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
So follow me. So I'm starting with, I predict that Elon Musk is going to exit from the automotive industry during Trump's term or shortly after. Now follow me, okay? Because I'm going to take you on a trip and bring you back. So in the news, U.S. Some countries have turned to Elon Musk's firm in trade talks with the State Department. So let me just read this. U.S. pushes nations facing tariffs to approve Musk Starlink. Some countries have turned to the satellite internet firm in conjunction with trade talks, State Department staffers wrote. The U.S. has a strategic interest in countering Chinese internet providers, but Musk's role complicates the picture. Less than 2 weeks after President Donald Trump announced 50% tariffs on goods from tiny African nation Lesotho, the country's communication regulator held a meeting with representatives of Starlink. The satellite business owned by billionaire and Trump advisor Elon Musk has been seeking customers in Lesotho. But it was not until Trump unveiled the tariffs and called for negotiations over trade deals that leaders of the country of roughly 2 million people awarded Musk's firm the nation's first ever satellite internet service license, slated to last for 10 years. And it goes on, but there's documentation showing that the actual government of Lesotho sent memos and letters of appreciation to the State Department saying, we signed this deal with Starlink, so help us with the tariffs.
Yep.
I'm not interested in that part. I feel like there's some issues in the fact that you have to sign with X to get a deal with America. I'm into the moves that Elon Musk is making. If in the next couple of years, he's able to get all of these countries to sign off on 5, 10, 20, maybe even 100-year leases and contracts in communication, he will be so huge in telecommunications that the automotive industry, I think he'll drop it. It's too many issues. We can't decide if we want to be electric or gas or electric. Even the most successful car companies always have down times. There's no down for this telecommunications that he's doing. So my prediction is I think before the term is over of Donald Trump, he's going to go full tilt telecommunications and drop the automotive. What do you think?
Yeah,
Are you following me on this?
I am. I think he's gonna. Yes, ultimately, I think he'll end up selling Tesla. I think somebody will. It'll either merge into a bigger company, meaning a more traditional automaker or something. I've said this on the podcast. I get flack all the time. I know I've got lots of doubters and whatnot out there. I think the electric vehicle industry is dead. I don't see it happening. I really don't. I mean, I get that it is growing in certain segments, but I don't think there's a future in it.
I think this is his exit plan, Mike.
Well, I mean, the communications thing is way more powerful, and right, wrong, or indifferent, he doesn't really have any competition. I mean,
that's
Jeff
what
Bezos,
I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Bezos has just launched his quote competition. He is so many years behind, though, that it is almost unrealistic to see him catch up. Certainly not within the next 10 years. And quite frankly, he's got to use some of Elon Musk's rockets to get it there. So that's the problem. Elon Musk is ahead of him both in the communication side of it and on the rocket side. Right, the launch vehicle is super important,
and he has an edge right now in both of them with Trump in the presidency. He already went and saved NASA. People are feeling like the only way I'm going to get the tariffs off of me is to work a deal with Starlink.
And by the way, this wasn't with Trump. This existed before Trump. I mean, yes, the tariffs and all this other stuff has. And the fact that he took that role has highlighted it. But Musk was way out in front of the communications and the rocket stuff. I mean, he's basically controlled NASA for many years, long before Trump. So I agree. I think the car thing is, and you can see it. Sales of Tesla are off. They're still expensive. They're just like, as an American, if you put your America hat on, you don't see it. I've talked to friends of mine back east in New England and whatnot, and they don't see this. They don't see it because they're living a different life. They're in Boston, they're in New York. They're like, oh yeah, electric cars. I see them all the time. They're all over the place. Dude, get out. You travel. You're not seeing electric cars all over the place in South America, Central America, Africa, Caribbean islands. I mean, it's not realistic. We are not there. We are not there. I mean, some parts of America are shit. You're not there in Montana either. I'm like, it's just not realistic. And at the end of the day, it goes back to the same thing when we talk about tariffs on the podcast show all the time. And why do we buy everything from China? At the end of the day, it's simply economics. It is cheaper to get things manufactured in China than it is in alternative places, including America. Well, it's the same thing. Other sources of fuel other than electric are still cheaper. They're still easier to get. Quite frankly, oil and fossil fuels are still, I hate to say it, but they're cleaner than electric. So until that changes, and I'm not saying it never will, but I'm not even sure they're looking to try to figure it out right now.
So from what you're saying, Mike, it just solidifies what I'm saying about Elon Musk.
Yeah,
because I really need you to understand that I was looking for the list. There's a list of like 10 major leaderships in just Africa, and then there's all these other countries that potentially in the next year, within the next 365 days, will all sign contracts with Starlink.
Well, let's look at it this way.
If he just got one third of them, if he just got one third of those contracts, he would have a monopoly on telecommunications beyond anything anyone has ever thought of. Remember when they broke up Ma Bell? This will be nothing compared to Ma Bell.
There's not even an alternative, Phil.
Right.
They're going to sign the contract. They have to. They don't have a choice. There is no, but people have to understand there is no alternative. You can't just go out
and what I'm saying is
a different telecommunications company. No, not if you're in Cameroon. I mean, Starlink is your only option because you're not running cable, you're not going through jungles, you're not setting up a super expensive infrastructure to use some kind of other satellite system that is far inferior. You see that even here in Mexico. I mean, if I look out the window right now, I mean, I could see Starlinks all over the place because the competition is terrible, to be honest. It's just it costs more. It's not as good, and even a government like Mexico, which is balancing between first world and developing, they're not putting in infrastructure to provide in remote locations. I mean, Starlink is the only option. So you got to realize that we just got done talking about, Kashmir and Afghanistan. Most of the world is remote. That's just a fact. And people that I get it. People that live in Boston cannot get out of their own way, and they're thinking, well, Tesla's doing great. I see them all the time.
Yeah, but even here in America, Mike, we just had an example a couple of weeks ago when we had Jason on the show. Yep. There are people who are opting out of cable and satellite and going to Starlink right here in America for their homes.
Absolutely.
And they're not settling for. I mean, they've got quality, top of the line. Yeah. We did a podcast where everybody was on Starlink, and it ran beautifully.
But even Jason said, he's located on the East Coast, which is long considered to be a major metropolitan area. Even he's in a place he said is fairly remote, and the options are very limited about how you can connect to communicate and to the outside world. And that's Starlink is a game changer for that. And it to be honest with you, it boggles my mind that no one tried to compete with him early on because it's too late in the game. I mean, Jeff Bezos certainly has the money and certainly has the infrastructure, and he's the only guy that I'm aware of, that's working on satellites or a competition that has any ability to have a launch vehicle. Because at the end of the day, without the vehicle to get the satellites into orbit, it's not going to happen. And if Musk controls most of the launches, I mean, there's only so much he's going to launch somebody else's satellites, right?
The infrastructure for these type endeavors, you have to be in control and ownership of from A to Z.
Yes.
You can't defer to anybody. You can't contract anybody. And Bezos is the only other option.
Yep. And I mean, there's probably other guys that could pull it off, but they haven't started the process, and that's my point. They're so far behind.
Well, the reason I say Jeff Bezos is the only other option is because, one, his money, but also because of his celebrity and his influence.
Yeah.
There may be other people who have more money than him, more power or whatever, but you need your front man. I mean, Elon Musk, the reason why they're doing well is because he's a great front man.
Yeah.
And that's a change in business in general too, is CEOs becoming front men and social media mavens and it affecting the success of their companies.
Yep. And you've seen that before. It's been a trend, but like the more polarizing they are, the more successful they tend to be. I mean, Elon Musk is super polarizing. Before him, you had like somebody like Mark Cuban, to a much lesser extent, but he was a polarizing figure. He never was afraid to speak his mind, but not at Musk level. I think that's why Bezos is a little behind Musk, because Bezos is a little more reserved. He's quieter, right?
The House Republicans are pushing to sell hundreds of thousands of acres of public lands in the West. They added a provision in the tax cut to allow the sale of hundreds of thousands of acres in Nevada and Utah. Republicans on the House Natural Resources Committee adopted the land sale proposal early Wednesday morning. If it goes through, Mike, basically it's going to open up basically all of Utah, all of Nevada to mineral excavation, oil, and so on and so forth. Are you with it or not?
Well, this is a tough one for me, being in the overland space and outdoor space, to answer, because there's mixed things on it. First of all, if you read all of this very carefully from an unbiased viewpoint, a couple things have to happen. One, it has to get approved. Two, it in the scheme of federal land, it's not a lot. It's not a lot of land. And three, you have to realize, just because it gets approved for something doesn't mean it's going to, once again, we're going back to financial feasibility, doesn't mean that it's going to happen, because you still have to have a mining company, you still have to have private enterprise that is interested in doing it. So, public land is an interesting thing. One could argue that America owns too much public land, meaning that a vast majority of our public land is sitting there unused, untouched. People aren't going to it. There's not even access to it. So, what is that for? So I think Jason brought up on the podcast a couple of weeks ago and said, obviously he was against the sale of public land or use of public land, particularly with national parks. And so I agree with him on that. I mean, you can't, if it's a national park or something where people are using it, actively using it to recreate or to, we're into, OHV stuff, or hiking or cycling or kayaking or whatever, no. But to use that as an excuse to not touch land that is a valuable asset is a complicated thing. So, I'm careful of that, because, unfortunately, you've got media involved in spreading disinformation oftentimes. It's like, would it be okay to I don't know, I'm just making this up, but put a natural gas pipeline as an example through Utah? Well, I mean, you and I have spent a lot of time in Utah. You could drive for hours upon hours and see nothing. You're out, off grid. I mean, does it matter that there's some kind of pipeline going through there? Probably not. But you're going to have somebody argue that and say, oh no, you can't do that. I mean, that's public land. Well, yeah. I mean, so what's the option? We got into this. You and I talked about this last year. We saw this up in, unfortunately, I'm going to use Oregon as an example, in the Bend and Redmond, Oregon area, where you had federal public land that, because of the way that we've designated federal land, you've got a bunch of homeless camps that have start using this land because, hey, it's all of our land. And now you've got a problem. So now what's happened is the federal government has decided to sell that land in order to get it under control so that it actually could be protected. So it sounds counterintuitive, but now the federal government's actually selling land to protect the land.
No, I get it.
It's a very complicated subject and a very complicated situation. It's not black and white. And I know a lot of overlanders out there immediately hear federal government selling land bad. We got to start raising our boycott and signs and whatnot. It's a little more complicated than that. And I know I'm going to take bad negativity, bad publicity for what I just said. But
Mike, you got a new video out about some things you're doing down in Mexico.
Yep.
Could you explain that real quick?
So I just launched a new video series this week. It is going to be a series on building a tiny house out of a shipping container, and I've decided to do it here in Mexico. So on top of the fact that I'm doing something a little bit different, similar to building my expedition rigs, this is kind of the same thing but without tires on it. I'm also doing it off grid. Meaning that it's not hooked up to electric, water, or sewer, and it is in Mexico. So that in itself comes with some interesting challenges for sure. Building things and doing things down here is a little bit different than in the States. So that is going to be my hopefully entertaining video series on building a tiny house out of a shipping container south of the border.
I'm curious as to how these episodes are going to go, not just for the content, but I think you're doing this at the right time with the economy, with nomad life, all of a lot of people are looking for options on how to live their life. I think there's going to be a lot of interest. People are looking to move other places, offset costs. I think this is going to be very interesting to a large demographic of people, not some people who are retiring, some young people who are trying to avoid getting into debt in the workforce, some people who just want a place to go off to.
What I'm trying to show in this is that you can still be a nomad because I'm not giving up adventure. I'm not giving up traveling. I'm not giving up necessarily living in my truck or any of that. I'm not giving up any of that. You can still be a nomad, but I'm kind of turning it into a nomad base of operation. So I've got like a place that I can quote call home and go back to, but then go out and do adventures and travels from. And I also want to show people that you can do it fairly inexpensively. So, too often, particularly what you just mentioned with the economy, you're looking at big money investing in a homestead or a home base. I'm showing the kind of the alternative to that. And I also want people to see that, you got to be able to think outside of your box. You can't, I never limited myself to America as an example. And Mexico wasn't really on the radar. I had looked at places like Costa Rica and Colombia and Nicaragua, and I've got a buddy that lives, is settled over in Thailand. I mean, there's lots of places to go outside of the U.S. that often offer alternatives, meaning particularly, I'll use this as an example here. The alternative is that it is comparatively less money, and one of the things I'm going to show in this video series, and it's not going to come as any surprise to anybody that listens to our podcast, but I have pretty strong quote libertarian beliefs, meaning like I just want people to do whatever you got to do, be you. And I really can't stand the government particularly telling me what to do. And boy, is there a difference between Mexico and what I'm going to call the developing nanny state of America. And that's
developing.
Well, I mean, if you're out west, particularly, Western states in California, you've been long on that wagon. And even states like Montana, Wyoming, places that are really pretty libertarian have moved farther away from that recently. Whereas, I joke, we built up, I'm sitting here right now. I'm sitting on the ground here way in advance of what you guys may have seen on the videos, but you can put a septic system in, you can build a fence, you can put a driveway in, you can build, you could do pretty much anything without even a permit here, totally legally.
Cool.
Whereas, take a state like Colorado. I was talking to some friends the other day. You can't even park your Nomad rig on a piece of property that you bought without a permit, because in theory, in most places, in order to park your rig there, you have to have got a septic system put in first. And in order to do that, you need a permit to do it. You need a design plan. You need to spend money. I was talking to somebody in Colorado as an example. It was about $20,000 to do a septic, a permitting process, and the architectural drawings or whatnot, just to basically park your school bus on a piece of land. Whereas here I am, all it took for me was to drive my truck here and drive over a couple of rocks and a few cactuses, and here I am. So, there's a lot of lot of advantages to America for sure, and I'm not taking anything away from the States, but man, there are a lot of disadvantages to living in America too.
You talking about living someplace, Mike? If you came to see me and you parked your vehicle in front of my house, it would have to be gone in the morning.
That's right.
I'm serious.
I understand. I know.
You get one day, with a vehicle that size. You'd get one day.
And here's the interesting thing, not to go down this rabbit hole too far, but why do you think that is, Phil? That really has a lot to do with people's
There's more than one side to it, Mike, because I moved here knowing these things.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Like, I would love to be able to park my truck in front, but I don't want to live in a neighborhood where you are parking your truck there, and maybe you have a car parked on the lawn.
Well, and you bring up an interesting, but that's an American cultural thing. And this is where I'm going with this. This is a cultural thing. Because I used to live in a place in America too, where you could get fined if you left your garage door open.
Here.
Right. Now, that is a cultural obsession with America. And the reason I'm going to say that is because if I look out my window right now, about, I don't know, call it a quarter of a mile away from me, they're building this thing. This is a beautiful, I'll call it a condo building. It has maybe 6 units in it. And it looks like something you would see in California, glass windows, and, it's white and gray, and they've decorated they've got palm trees. It's beautiful. Directly across the street from it, and I'm not exaggerating here, looks like the junkyard of Samsung, because there's no zoning here whatsoever, really, right? But here's the difference. Somebody will move into that beautiful California-looking condo and not really give a shit that there's a junkyard across the street, because there's a mindset difference.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it. And if I was there, I would have that mindset. But it's all ostentatious, pretentious stuff.
Yep.
The houses in the neighborhood are part of the decorations to my home.
Correct. That's right.
So I don't want you going off onto your own little creative whatever.
Right. It's very uniquely an American sort of thing, because so this land that I bought here, we've basically set up a nomad camp, right? So, I would compare it to, we basically built a campground. And, but next door to us, we don't have anybody next door, but if somebody bought the property, they could build a house, a nice house. Maybe it could be a guy comes in wants a junkyard, and he wants cars piled all over the place. Anything could happen. It's
So,
just
Mike,
part of life here.
you are officially in the tiny home community.
Yes. Yep.
That's a big thing here.
Well, Phil, it's interesting. My whole life is interesting from a standpoint of what I've been going through right now, because I consider myself a nomad still, but I'm somewhat Mexicanized. I'm a permanent resident. I have my permanent residency in Mexico. I have a Mexican phone number. I have, my buddy Bert here, who was on site here with us. He said that yesterday. He goes, I went and got health care down here, and I'm getting rid of my American health care. It's just a weird. It's a weird thing, and I think that maybe we could talk about it more on the podcast in the future. But nomads, people that are in overlanding and are more open to travel, and particularly world travel, are probably more open to that. There are a lot of options out there. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and I think that most average Americans, certainly sitting in their living room, maybe even listening to our podcast right now, don't realize that there's so many options out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mike, we're going to, on another podcast, have to cover the subject of healthcare, because you mentioned, he's switching over to Mexico.
Yep.
I've met people who've done the same thing, but not only in Mexico. There's some other countries in South America that people are.
Colombia is a big one.
That's it.
That's a big one. Yep.
So is it just South America, or maybe some people are doing it in even other countries, other continents?
No, I've got friends in Asia, both Cambodia, Vietnam, and Thailand.
I know somebody in Vietnam.
Yep. South Central America, certainly a lot of people in Costa Rica and El Salvador. You've heard in the news, they've turned that country around quite a bit by making that big prison, but that's become sort of an expat area. Certainly Mexico here is. So no, there's a lot out there, because America has a great healthcare. Well, let me rephrase that. We have great healthcare providers. We don't have a great healthcare system. Our system is all broken and screwed up. We have very educated, healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, whatnot, and a lot of great facilities too. But we have a system that is somewhat broken. And
I don't think we have great care providers, Mike. I've told this story a few times. I'll give it the short one, but basically, my daughter is alive today more so because of how good my health care was versus the actual medical care.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my insurance, the common man does not have.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I mean by a broken system more than anything, is yes, it's broken from, it's pay to play for one. And you're basically paying to get to the front of the line.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, not just the front of the line. Like I told you with my daughter, our insurance paid for an airplane to fly her to another state. Yeah. That's not in typical insurance. No. So you could have something where all they need to do is get you to this other place to save your life, and they're going to just medicate you till you die.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole podcast. We could definitely talk about that. And I don't think people realize that there's a lot of options out there.
Yes.
Both in and out of the U.S.
Your financial situation has a lot to do with your mortality rate.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
My hip, if I didn't have decent insurance, Mike, I might have had to get they probably would have gave me a hip replacement.
Yep.
And that sounds good, but I'm almost back to 100% now.
Without having to have that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it took rehabilitation, lots of doctor's visits, massages.
Yep.
a lot of these insurances wouldn't have paid for the massages.
That's right.
And I needed them.
Yep. Yeah, I completely understand.
Let's stop here on that, Mike, because
it's depressing.
yeah. So I'm gonna see you in a few days, bro.
I know. I'm excited about that. We're going to be at Overland Expo in Flagstaff next weekend. Well, we're going to be on site. Well, I'll be there in Flagstaff starting on. Well, I guess I'll get there on Tuesday, but we'll be moving into the expo site on Wednesday. The show runs Friday to Sunday. I'm going to release my teaching schedule today. That's going to come out. You're going to see that. And Phil and I are going to be doing some. Well, we're going to record podcasts in front of a studio audience. We'll call it from Flagstaff. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I was going to ask you, are we going to do our usual Wednesday thing?
Which
downtown
is
Flagstaff?
Yeah, I believe that we're going to do that. Yes. So
okay.
I did see that they don't market that very well. I got to say, but I saw they're doing their usual beer and gear event in Wednesday night in downtown Flagstaff. And if you guys have not been to downtown, I'll call it old school Flagstaff, you should check it out because it's a cool area for sure. We always have a good time kind of wandering around and seeing what's happening.
And check out either my social media or Mike's social media, and because we generally post where we're at on Wednesday, and we drink and talk bullshit and have fun on Wednesday.
And generally hook up with all of you guys out there that are going to be in town. And I know a lot of people that are listening are going to be in Flagstaff. So looking forward to seeing all you.
And we say this all the time, but it needs repeating. If you see us and we're not in the middle of an interview or the podcast, I'm looking forward to you walking up to me and saying hi.
Right. Exactly. It could be, if you're waiting for us not to be busy, that's never going to happen. So you might as well just don't be afraid to come up and interrupt us because we're always doing stuff.
But
it's a busy weekend.
I also mention it too, Mike, because you get to adult age and you realize that some people, they have a on-screen image, and then you meet them and you're like, oh, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
We love talking to y'all.
That's right.
Matter of fact, that might be your mistake. We might talk you to death.
Yep. Yep. I will be just so you guys out there know, I'm going to be located this year in the central quad area. They call it the quad, which directly next to the classrooms. So right in the middle there of where everything's going on. I'm going to be in a special section called the Southern Cross Expedition vehicle showcase. So it's going to be just featuring the trucks that are doing that trip the following week. So look for me. I have my old green 1965 Land Rover. I'll have a Drive the Globe flag so you can see that. But that's where I'm going to be located, right around the corner from Expedition Overland and AT Overland, and all in the middle there. So be sure to stop by there. And that's probably where I'm guessing we'll probably shoot our podcast over that area. I'm guessing because we'll have that area to use. And then Phil and I can always be found pretty much faithfully 5 to 7 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights at the happy hour. Right. We always go to hobnob and shake hands and kiss babies with people at the happy hour. So it's pretty, you can find us at the Big Oasis, right? I mean, it's 5 to 7.
Drink some alcohol, talk some shit, trade some stickers.
Yep. And cook some good stuff on the Scottle, probably hanging around at Jerry's at Tembo Tusk booth. Tembo Tusk is located in the same place that they were last year, kind of next to the content creator area, in between the entrance there by where the showcase vehicles are. That's where the Jerry and Tembo Tusk will be. What else do I need to say, Phil?
Well, I was waiting to the end of the show because I don't want everybody to hear this. If you're coming to Overland Expo and you see us, we will be giving away Midland products throughout the weekend. That's all I've got for now. I have to finish talking to Midland about it, but we're going to be giving away Midland stuff.
Excellent. And we're going to be using Midland on our Southern Cross expedition. The following week, all of our trucks are outfitted, courtesy of Midland, with radios, and we'll be able to communicate. So that's good. We're really looking forward to that. And stop by and see how we installed them. And we're going to be installing a few of them in the trucks that weekend because we haven't been able to get to the participants. So you can come and watch us install the radios.
So we'll announce when they're doing that, and we'll also film it. So those who can't make it to Overland Expo, you'll be able to see. Because I think that's a good lesson to learn. You should be able to install a radio in your vehicle and not have to spend a couple of $100 labor at some. Exactly. Oh, and don't go to an Overland outfitter. They'll charge you $500.
That's right. Yep. And looking forward to seeing you guys because every year we get more and more listeners on this podcast, so the last couple years, I got to tell you, like I get more people coming up to me and saying we listen to the podcast than watch me on YouTube or follow my Instagram. So you guys are definitely some of our most important followers out there. So we'd love to talk to podcast listeners for sure. And I'd be remiss not to mention that I got a lot of feedback from last week's podcast talking about the Overland Expedition Portal and Overland Journal merger, including, by the way, from the players involved in that merger. So shout out to all you guys out there for hanging through all that. Listen to Phil and I talk about it. But
I only got one negative comment out of all of the back and forth that I got. They said, I always knew you were a sellout. That's it. I just gave it verbatim.
Yeah.
I always knew you were a sellout. I wish I knew what tone they were saying it. I always knew you were a sellout. And I'm like, wow. So if you choose the side of someone big, famous, popular, or has celebrity or whatever, you are immediately referred to as a sellout, even if it was the correct choice. That's my thinking.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's true. But so anyways, well, thanks again for all the feedback. I mostly got positive feedback.
Oh, it was all except for one person.
Yeah, yep. I know a lot of our listeners certainly are plugged into Overland Journal and listen to X-Overland.
Most definitely.
And by the way, I listened to their podcast that they put out, kind of explaining, and it didn't surprise me what they said because it was kind of basically what we surmised. And it's a kind of in my view, and I think I said this, it's kind of a marriage of some big players that have a lot of clout in this industry. So it's definitely something to watch. And I have the utmost belief that they're all inspired and filled with integrity. So I'm going to poo-poo on all the negative stuff that we got, mostly surrounded that they weren't going to be able to keep, Overland Journal to be, editorially independent. And I just don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think all of them, Rochelle and Clay and Scott, outlined that on their podcast. If you haven't listened to their podcast and you were negative, you probably should go and listen to their podcast. And that's what I got to say about that.
I'm a strong believer in never going into anything blind. Like when I go to the doctor, I don't just go to the doctor and go hear what he has to say. I've generally looked up everything, and I'm looking for him to confirm what I've researched.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So the point that I'm making is, we are saying that they're non-biased, and you can still go into them to get information. However, you as an individual should do your own research and come up with your own conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I preach that with, we could talk about overland gear. I say the same thing. If you're walking around next week at Expo and there's a lot of stuff, do your research. Do your research. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of shitty stuff. There's a lot of mediocre stuff in the middle out there that you can buy. Do your research. Just trust me on that.
Do you think we'll see a decrease in Chinese products and overseas products?
I don't know. I'm very excited to hit the road and go to this because I've got a lot of this is going to be big for me. I'm going with a different truck than I usually am. I'm leaving Expo immediately to do an expedition. We had the biggest merger in overlanding happen last week. The whole China tariff thing, the whole, what's overlanding and van life and nomad, how's it trending? We're going to know a lot more. We're going to have a lot to talk about after next week, for sure.
All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.